All right, NBL, welcome to the Extra Point Podcast, episode number 22. And now that we're just moments after the completion of NBL Live, and I got Fat with me, obviously, I got to ask you, Fat, how was the game? What's going through your mind now that after that big win for you?
We're pretty happy, obviously, with the win, but we know that we have still a lot of work to do. The freaking AFC, man, it's not easy by any means, and so we know that we have a couple big games coming up. We do play Backley one more time, and that's kind of the game we're really looking at right now. So obviously we still have to get past the Ravens. We're not going to count anybody out because that's the point of playing the games, but Denver is definitely the big game for us, especially if we can get past Baltimore. But I think it was a great game overall.
Yeah, it was, and as you said in your words, the freaking AFC, that's actually kind of what I wanted to talk about was not only just the AFC, but really the league in general. This is, as far as I can really remember, this is really, truly the first time that we're in, what are we, week 13 right now, and there's only one division, which is the NFC West, where they have a team that's locked up for that one seed. Other than that, every single division is separated by just one game, or I think there's one division that's separated by 2 games, but other than that, there's 2 or 3 teams that are right in the top on every single one, and it's crazy that this far into the season we have that kind of competition at the top. So although we kind of break down divisions, it's getting a little old, same thing, but I think this is really going to be a good one because we're really going to break down what teams we think are going to prevail and go on into the playoffs. So since you're kind of acquainted with the AFC, why don't you start us off and tell us a little about the AFC divisions over there?
Will do, and I'm going to go ahead and start off with the AFC East. And this division really interests me because I think going in, a lot of teams thought the Patriots, who had a fantastic season last year, would kind of run away with this division. But the Dolphins have been nipping on their heels all season long. They've been playing great, and I think that they're the surprise team of the AFC at this point in time, if you ask me. So it's really good to watch that division. Like you said, all these divisions are very close, but this is the one that I think is the closest to me, and I think the best one to watch right now, because I think it would be great to see the Dolphins after, obviously, Tout gone, but, with the Dolphins taking over with a new owner, and they're still being competitive and have a chance at winning that division there in the AFC East. And then the AFC North, nothing too surprising here. The only thing that is surprising to me is that you actually see Sonny on top of this division instead of Lip. But outside of that, I mean, both of these guys are both usually battling for that division lead, as well as both of them are usually fighting for a playoff spot as they continue to do so. TFA once again struggling. Don't really know what's going on in Cleveland, but at this point, it is what it is. But they are battling with Baltimore for last place in that division. So they got something going on over there for them. Both teams sitting at 4-8. Then the AFC South, the Texans, man, this is the team that we talked about last year, possibly being a potential winner of this division coming in. They were the owner of the year and all those good things as well, and they're continuing to improve at 6-5 right now, trying to knock Train and his Titans off of the championship seat there in the AFC South. And don't count out the Colts. They are 4-8, and obviously they just did lose a very tough game. But I don't think they're necessarily out of it. They do have a very long shot, but I think it's going to come down to the Texans and the Titans. And I personally think the Texans will win that division there over the Titans this year. I have a lot of faith in them, and I think that they're playing some really good football there. And then you have the Jags sitting at the 1-11 right now. AFC West, it's been talked about this could possibly be one of the best divisions ever, and surprisingly enough, the bottom feeder right now in this division is DK and his Chargers. They're having a rough season. A lot of turnovers by Spriggs. It seems to be the key factor there for them. But Prince and his Chiefs sitting at 9-2 at the top. Backley and the Broncos quietly sitting at 8-4, and then obviously my Raiders sitting at 7-5 after a big victory for us. But all these teams still have a lot of work to do, and I think it's going to come down to a 2-team race, possibly 3. I just think with my division losses that I've had this year, I've lost both games against the Chiefs. I don't think I have a very big chance of winning that division unless the Chiefs completely falter at the end of the season here. But personally, I think it's going to be in the East. I think it's going to be the Patriots. I think that they have a lot of charisma there in New England, so I think they're going to win that division there. On to the North, I think Sonny's finally going to not finally, but will once again trump Lip and be able to win that division there. The Texans I've already spoken about. I think they'll win the division in the South, and then the Chiefs I think will ultimately win the division once again in the West. So with the Broncos, like I said, nipping on their heels as well. So the 4 division winners right there, and then the wild card's the toughest spot to look at right now. Lip sitting pretty with a 2-game cushion on the two teams on the bubble between the Dolphins and my Raiders. But Backley is the team that's kind of close to possibly being knocked out of that spot once again as well. And like I said, I may have mentioned before, the Raiders and the Broncos do have one more game to play, so that could be a very, very big game as well. But don't count out those Dolphins either.
Yeah, so I want to touch on something for maybe some of you who weren't exactly listening, or those that are a little bit mathematically challenged. Of these 4 divisions, 3 divisions are within the top 3 spots are within 3 games of the lead, and that's crazy coming down the stretch. We have, like I said, we're in week 13, so most teams have 4 games left. There's a couple teams that have 5 games left that have not yet played. But out of the divisions that you just named, AFC East, top team is 8 wins, and the third team is 5 wins, all within 3 games right there. And then AFC South, even with the Indianapolis Colts loss, as you said tonight, they're still within 2 games. 6 wins on the top, 5 wins for the second, 4 wins for the third. That's still anyone's game. And lastly, the AFC West, 9 wins on the top, 8 at second, and 7 at third. All of these divisions more than likely will probably go to the top seed, but it's so close that it could completely flip upside down. And as you were mentioning a minute ago about the wild card, there's a couple teams that if they end up choking at the end and don't win this division, they're not only going to lose the division, but they're going to completely miss out on the playoffs mainly because of how well the Steelers and the Broncos are playing right now. So there's a couple teams that can seriously miss out as we come down the stretch here. So why don't we go ahead and I'll move it over to the NFC, and we'll start with the NFC East where I'm at. Right now I'm leading the division at 9-3. The Redskins are second behind me at 7-4, and behind them Dallas Cowboys 5-6, and then Eagles 4-8. Right now it's pretty much a 2-team race between myself and the Redskins. Right now I have a 1.5 game lead. I'm still waiting on Doughboy to go ahead and play the Jets, and I don't like counting my chickens before they hatch, but we're going to go ahead and say the Redskins are going to win this game solely because of record, and that's going to go ahead and make our division a 1-game difference. And I believe that we play week 16 or week 17, which very well could be for the division. So that this is going to come down to the end. For the first time in 6 seasons now, Bomber in the NFC North actually has someone that is challenging him for the division. It's funny. It's really crazy actually to say that you're 6 seasons in and you've had a division locked up by like week 12 every single time. But right now, Bombers only holds a 2-game lead over the Packers. So we got Lions at 8-4, the Green Bay Packers 6-6, Minnesota Vikings 5-7, Bears 4-7. Vikings aren't mathematically out of it, but it's really a long shot. It's really kind of between the Packers and the Lions right now. But good news for the Packers, even if they manage not to take the division, they are on the cusp, 1 game back, with also 2 other teams, 1 game back from that final wildcard seed. So even if they're not able to take the division, they are right in the thick of it for a wildcard spot. And this is Unisolated's first season in NBL after taking over for a longtime owner Bots in the offseason. So that would be a huge victory for him to being able to pick up his very first season and pick up a playoff berth. That's something that there's several owners who have not picked up, and there's some teams that are on some huge playoff droughts. Having someone come in and in such a tough division like this and being able to pick up a playoff berth first year, that would be huge. So congratulations to Unislated on the season he is having so far. It's really well put together. So why don't we head over to the division that we always say is 2 of the best teams, if not the 2 best teams, are from NFC South. Once again, this game, this division is always going to come down to the last game. Atlanta Falcons right now 8-3. They're still waiting to play their game this week, and the Carolina Panthers 8-4. Bucks though, another like I said, can't count these third seed teams out right now. The Bucks have as titled have won 6 of their last 7 games. it's crazy how much they've won. 6 straight right now. Started off 0-5, won the next 6. It's a complete turnaround. This team, they've CMF has been in this league for quite a few seasons now, and he's been towards the bottom, but his team is coming on strong, and they're playing really, really well. So they're definitely a team to reckon with down the stretch. And then lastly, we have the Saints 1-11. I really don't know what went wrong here. They showed some promise last year, and they're right back to the slums like they were a couple seasons ago. And our last division we're going to talk about, NFC West. Really not too much to talk about here. Seahawks, I think they have it clinched. Yeah, they do have it clinched. 11-1 right now. They have that clinched. So Baston is going to be the division winner there, and also currently the number 1 seed in the NFC. But really, the more surprising thing I've seen out of the NFC West is the rise of Playa and the Cardinals, and the downfall of Draco and the Rams. These two teams have kind of flip-flopped. The Rams have really been battling at the top for what's been coined the Draco defense in the NBL. So seeing them down to 4-8 is kind of a surprise. Cardinals up to 6-6. I've been saying for a couple seasons now, I've really liked what the Cardinals have put together. They've really put some young guys out there, young quarterback, young halfback, a couple young wide receivers. They're really building a foundation, and I think in a couple seasons they could really challenge the Seahawks for the division. And then our last team that we need to touch on is the San Francisco 49ers, 2-9, showing a couple signs of improvement every now and again, but then they fall back down. It's really consistency is the number 1 issue they've had here. So that's pretty much going to go ahead and wrap up the divisions. Let me just talk about real quick the NFC playoff picture so far. As I mentioned a minute ago, we got the Seattle Seahawks, number 1 seed, 11-1. The Giants, number 2, 9-3. Falcons, 3rd, 8-3. The Detroit Lions at 4, 8-4. And then the 2 wildcard teams, we have the Panthers at 8-4, and then the Redskins at 7-4. Couple teams right on their heels, so we'll see how that comes down the stretch. Also, one thing I wanted to mention before we got closing out here tonight, I wanted to say we have a real true record watch right now. If Matt Stafford is looking to break his old record for passing yards. Right now he's sitting at 3,901 yards, and we have 4 games left, so he needs to throw for about 700 more yards, and he's going to break his record. So that is our record watch. We got to keep an eye on that as we come down the stretch here. So we're going to go ahead now and wrap up the podcast here. As I'm sure some of you guys have noticed, we have a new logo, new intro, and that is thanked by our new sponsors, Berkshire Communicators. If you're tired of those pesky voicemails, go to Berkshire, where their logo is people talking to people, real people on their answering machines, not the pesky robots or anything like that. So thank you for Berkshires. And also next week, we're going to have a new segment we're going to be introducing featured towards our Berkshire Communicator. So next episode, make sure you guys definitely tune in, check that out. Before we head out, once again, I want to encourage everyone to check out the Four Verts podcast. It's hard for me to promote them, little bittersweet rivalry we have going, but Sonny's really been doing an excellent job over there. He's had a couple big interviews with Shopmaster, Poppy from Daddy Leagues, and more recently Clint Oldenburg from EA. So definitely check that out. That was actually a really good interview. Talked about the awareness, that hidden feature that no one really truly knows what it does, but he did go ahead and talk about that, so make sure you guys check that out. He's been doing some good things over there. Also check out the 2 Point Conversion podcast by TFA. Does a really great job breaking the league down. So for all of us here at the Extra Point Podcast,
yeah, and another thing real quick to touch on as well, don't be so coy over there, Tom, as well. A lot of big things happening for NBL, as sure as everybody knows. But to kind of touch on as well, not only is Sonny doing some great things with the Four Verts podcast, a lot of awesome interviews that he's done, as well as our first look at NBL tonight as well. But, Tom, obviously, congrats to you as well, being named the lead writer, I believe is what it was for Daddy Leagues as well. So, great job by both of you guys. I know you guys have really put the time and effort in. to make things happen for NBL. And I know for all of us owners around the league, I know we truly appreciate it, and we're excited to see what else we can continue to do.
Yeah, like you said, it was a big thing for Daddy Leagues. I'm sure everyone listening to this podcast knows exactly what Daddy Leagues is. It's truly the standard for online franchises for Madden. If you don't have a Daddy Leagues, then you're missing out. It's a great site. It does some wonderful things to help keep you involved in your Madden franchise. So yeah, we're gonna have some good content coming out for there. Some really good stuff for Madden and also MLB as well. If anyone's an MLB fan. But as I've said, that's going to be all the time we have. So from me and Project Fat at the Extra Point Podcast, we thank you for tuning in, and we will be back next week.